I'm Fox23 Chief Meteorologist James Adelot. New tornado warning just issued now for parts of northwestern Creek County and southeastern Pawnee County. We've had an increasing rotation very close to the community of Oilton right now, and that is moving right in here, right under that Highway 51 interstate shield. So as you look right into Oilton right here, you can zoom in, kind of see where we've got that little bit of a little notch in the storm right now, kind of approaching Oilton. We can look at velocity. And again, we've got a little bit sharper reds here outbound from the radar. So if we're seeing some rotation developing, it's kind of right in here. So we've got outbounds here, inbounds right over the Markham area right now. And that's why that tornado warning has been issued. Now, this will be kind of right along West 61st here. You can see all the way up to Silver City in that tornado warned storm. Again, this rotation's not super strong right now, but it got some unconfirmed reports that we actually did have a tornado touchdown well west of Shamrock a few minutes ago, too. So that's going to be one factor in leading to that tornado warning decision there. You can see just to the west of Oilton is where we could be seeing that rotation increasing just a bit. Let me go back and we'll adjust that storm relative velocity just a bit here, and that's going to give us a little bit better, a little closer view here with a little stronger outbounds right there close to Oilton. So if we're going to have a tornado, it's going to be very close to the community of Oilton. Let me do a track on that storm, too. I'm going to go back to reflectivity, bounce out just a little bit as we're zoomed right in on Oilton, where, again, if we've got that tornado occurring with the storm, it's going to be kind of one of these brief leading edge spin up type tornadoes. And as you've been with us through the evening watching these, tracking these type storms, they fire up, they spin very quickly, and thankfully they don't last too long. Now, they have slowed down. That's going to be a little bit of an issue with some of the heavy rain that is falling too in this zone. But moving right into Oilton right now, if this holds together, Silver City, that's east of Oilton at about 8:19 there on West 51st Street, Lawrence Creek by about 8:28. So this tornado warning is in effect until 8:45. Now, if you extrapolate this, we're looking at this line moving into the Tulsa area too, but so far we don't have any indications that we've got any kind of sustained big higher end tornado threat with this, but we continue to watch this big cluster of thunderstorms drop to the southeast. Let me take you back out and look at the other severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect, because we've got two, again, all kind of clustered along that same little section of thunderstorm activity right now. And that's going to give us not only the severe thunderstorm warning that goes all the way to the Tulsa-Osage County line, but our tornado warning right around the community of Oilton. Behind that, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings in parts of Payne County, too. We do have, let's see, as we look elsewhere, we do have some reports of flooding as well. We have talked all along that this would not just be a severe weather threat, that we would have a flooding threat, too. And that's what all of these green polygons are, sort of scattered across northeast Oklahoma. So anywhere north of a line from Grove to Skiatook down to Oklahoma City is under the gun with a flash flood warning. We only have one tornado warning that's in effect right now. That's in northwestern Creek and extreme southern parts of Pawnee County. Notice how small that tornado warning is as well. We're going to take a little closer look again and update you on just how fast that rotation is moving right now as it moves very close to the community of Oilton right now. And that's going to be right on top of Highway 51 now and 99 as it slowly, again, this is slower than the storms were moving just an hour or so ago, but crosses over Highway 99, very close to 51, and right down through Oilton as well. So as that moves toward the east-northeast, that's going to be up close to Highway 48 and 51 there with the convenience store there on the southeast corner of this intersection that you're familiar with in that area. Here's the Lawrence Creek area. We're watching very closely in Manford and Westport, officially in the tornado warning polygon, but this area of rotation is not super close to you right now. Other considerations as we watch this rotation, really kind of the history of these have been, we get a pretty quick spin up to the point where we may see at least a small tornado start to form, but then we see these just not lasting super long. As we go back to velocity right now, I want to zoom back in and we'll examine right in that area of northwestern Creek County. Look in there very closely. Again, the velocity not super strong with this rotation, but remember this had at least an unconfirmed report of a brief tornado touchdown west of Shamrock, so that would have been in Payne County as that storm moved out of Payne County and into northwestern parts of Creek County. But what we're watching is how that kind of has a little bit of an outward bow here, West 61st Street, Highway 99. If it doesn't have, it's not producing a small tornado, it's likely producing some pretty strong wind, this storm south of Jennings. So no immediate threat in the city of Tulsa. This is, however, upstream from us as we continue to watch that come our way. And we're watching also big areas of heavy rain that have caused some flooding concerns as well. Do have a spotter report in that area, seeing some rotation with that thunderstorm too. Now our team coverage continues. I think Fox.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, that's my watch telling me. My team coverage continues. The watch didn't hear it, but Laura did. Let's check in with Fox23 certified meteorologist Laura Mock. Laura?
And as we were talking about earlier in our coverage in the afternoon, we were talking about how a lot of these situations would be quick spin-ups and they probably wouldn't last long. And as we've looked at the velocities with this, it spun up pretty quick and it's going to have a hard time holding together as it continues to the east. Like James was saying, center of rotation just north of Oilton. This is now crossing or past 99 here. So there's your rotation just north of Oilton. Here's Highway 51 and this is continuing to the east. I'm going to zoom this out just.
You know what? Yeah, I can take it from there. I'm looking right now at high resolution. We'll look at high resolution Doppler radar right now too. I'm actually looking at the terminal Doppler, and we're actually have a little bit better indication of this rotation now between Oilton and Silver City. So here are the outbounds right here, the brighter reds, brighter greens coming in on the underside, and that would be our circulation right here. So we're looking kind of at that terminal Doppler. This is Highway 51. This is Highway 99. Here is Oilton. Oilton, you're in the clear. We've got some pretty strong wind sweeping in from the west into Oilton right now, too. Oh, goodness. We've got another flooding report in Pawhuska of up to 4 feet of water on Lynn Avenue in Pawhuska and some flooding around the fire station as well. So we're going to, of course, watch that very closely as we gradually transition from a little less of a tornado threat and a whole lot more of a flash flooding threat across eastern Oklahoma. We come down to the current picture on this high-resolution Doppler radar. Again, we're looking right in there. That's that little hook area that we're seeing. I'm going to switch back over to the 88D as we look right into that same area. Again, we'll check velocities here with our rotation here. Reds and greens, not a high magnitude rotation because the colors aren't terribly bright. No real solid indication that we've got any lofted debris up into the radar dish, into the radar beam right now. But certainly when we looked at that terminal Doppler display too, that it would lead you to believe that we could see a tornado form in this part of the storm. So we're talking right in here. We're now east of Highway 99 with that danger area. So anywhere west of Highway 99, you're going to be fine with this. We're watching this really closely for you in Manford as this circulation continues to move toward the east-northeast, we'll say at about 25 miles per hour. That puts it in the Silver City area over the next few minutes. Lawrence Creek, 825, Manford at 835. You need to take your tornado precautions now in Manford, too, as this circulation edges a little bit closer. So you've got a few minutes. Think about where you're going to go in your house, lowest level, center part, smallest room. Still a ways away with that 20 minutes or so from Manford as it moves a little bit closer. And, of course, that's going to take it over parts of Keystone Lake as well as that circulation continues to edge toward the east. Now, let's check back in with Fox 23 certified meteorologist Laura Mock. And, again, tracking these little leading edge shears and circulations, and occasionally one pops up strong enough like this to prompt the tornado warning.
And that's what we were concerned with as we go through the evening hours. This is what we were expecting, especially as all those storms formed one big line as they were starting to come into our area. Now, while James was talking, I was looking back at some of the radar data as this part of the storm was developing, and the strongest signs of rotation that we saw with this were just as it was starting to get into the north side of Oilton, right as it was approaching Highway 99 there. As it continues to move, we've gone a little bit more to the north, a little closer to Highway 51, but I will say the rotation on this seems to be much weaker. But anytime we have storms that have rotation, they typically come up a little bit and then come down. They cycle. So we're going to keep an eye on this as we go through the rest of the evening, too. This tornado warning in effect until 8:45, so we still have 30 minutes to go with this tornado warning in place. The rotation now east of Oilton, getting really close to Highway 51 here. As we put a location on this, here's right about where your rotation is. Here's Silver City, so just to the north of that. If you're in Silver City, you need to be taking your, you need to be in your safe place. Now, this is going to be continuing to move up to the northeast, eventually up toward State Highway 48, closing in on Manford. That's the general direction on which this is going to be heading, almost directly along Highway 51 here. So if you're in Manford, go ahead and get to your safe place. These storms are moving a bit slower than what they were earlier this evening. The speed on this one probably about 25 to 30 miles an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back over, and we'll do a quick track on this storm on just how quickly it's expected to continue to be moving east. So as we put this track out, we'll continue this right along 51 here. Didn't pick up on a ton of towns. Manford, 836, Silver City. This is just going to be skirting by just to the north. Lawrence Creek, just to the north of you. And you can see the radar update there. A little bit of a notch there. And that's where we're going to be watching for that rotation. So I'll go ahead and clear that track off. We'll switch back over to velocity and check out the signs on this. Definitely not as pronounced as it was starting to approach the town of Oilton. So that's good news. We like to see these rotations come down. That means that storm is starting to weaken, but still something to pay attention to. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more just to give you a better idea of what else we have going on across the area. And before I completely zoom out, I just want to go back in time a little bit with the velocity, just so I can get a better idea of the storm as it progresses. Sometimes it's good to see things how they progress through time. And you can see on the reflectivity here as this was coming into Oilton, that's when we saw the strongest rotation on this. But again, right on Highway 51 to the east of Oilton, approaching the Manford and Lawrence Creek area. Also, Westport, you are technically in this tornado warning, so you need to be watching this closely. It is moving much slower than what we were seeing earlier this evening, but you still need to be paying attention to this and taking action. As we take a wide view across the area, Fox23 Doppler radar, here is our line of storms. We saw a little bit of thunderstorm activity move through the Tulsa metro. That quickly moved up to the north and just joined this big area of rain that has been coming through the area. This is going to be one of our biggest concerns tonight. Sure, we have the chance for those quick spin-up tornadoes, but we're going to have more people affected by widespread flooding than anything else. That is a serious concern because you see just how slowly these storms are moving. That's an hour loop, and you don't even get a quarter of the way through Osage County, and this is dumping a ton of rain across the same areas. Even those areas under the tornado warnings. If you have any damage, say if something does spin up, you're not going to be able to assess things very easily because you're going to be dealing with hours and hours and hours of rain. Now, coming a little bit more to the south, we've been talking about how we have the possibility of some of these storms bubbling up just to the south of Tulsa. We have seen a little bit of activity, but it has struggled to strengthen. The overall threat is still there south of this big line, but it's just been difficult to realize that potential. It was actually affected quite a bit by all of the storms off to the west. It kind of messed with the upper atmospheric dynamics of everything, stopping those storms from developing completely. We have seen those develop a little bit, but the overall severe threat right now is very low. We don't have any severe weather south of Tulsa, just some general thunderstorms. But to the north, Much different story. Thunderstorms coming through, flooding potential too. And again, that tornado warning north end of Creek County and parts of Pawnee County too, moving away from the town of Oilton. This came through Oilton about 15 minutes ago. That's when we saw the rotation at its strongest, and it continues to move to the northeast. It doesn't look like it's going to hold together, but this is going to be a rotation that we're going to be tracking pretty much all the way through the north side of Tulsa, maybe even up towards Skytook, and we're going to continue to watch that really all the way through the rest of the evening. And we have to watch this entire line the rest of the evening, too, for the potential for those quick spin-up tornadoes, just like we're seeing right now, moving away from Oilton. So just one tornado warning in effect for us, but we have a lot more flood warnings than just general severe thunderstorm warnings across the area too. So just stay weather aware this evening. We'll take one more close look into that tornado warned area. So as we come back to our radar, as we come in a little bit closer, there are general thunderstorms coming through Tulsa. I can quickly put on lightning on here, and not a ton of lightning coming from this. Maybe just to the east side of Bristow, but a lot more lightning with our other thunderstorms that are moving through that big line of rain that is heading in our direction. So as we come in a little bit closer, our general rotation really not holding together at all. As we take a look at where this is standing now, it's actually very difficult to see exactly where that rotation is because you're not seeing those bright greens or the bright reds. Things much weaker, but again, we still have the potential for something to quickly spin up, and that's why we're still on air, because we still have that tornado warning in effect. We have Fox23 severe weather team coverage. Chief Meteorologist James Adelot looking at things behind the scenes. James, what are you seeing now?
Yeah, we are still dealing with the one tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm warnings go all the way to the Tulsa-Osage County line. And you can see this big area of rain and thunderstorms gradually sagging toward the metro area right now. And as Laura did such a great job of explaining, on a widespread basis, flooding is going to affect a lot more people and be a much more hazardous issue than these leading edge spin-ups. But because any tornado is a serious matter, we are covering that tornado warning very closely right now. It's officially in effect until 8:45. Now, at the rate that rotation continues to weaken, I expect that this may be canceled a little early before we make it there. Now, also want to point out this line of thunderstorms goes all the way up into parts of southeast Kansas and will also move over the Will Rogers Turnpike, almost over the entire turnpike, too. So that's going to make for some very tough travel. In the metro area, we have seen showers and thunderstorms trying to bubble up over the city. So far, these have not been severe, but you can see these are moving a little more quickly to the northeast, but they're actually starting to intensify just a bit. In fact, particularly the one to the southwest of Sapulpa right now. It is not severe, but I was looking at that just a little bit earlier ago on high-resolution Doppler radar. This actually starting to show some indications that we're making some hail in this storm right now to the north of Slick. That's going to be potentially racing up into the metro area over. Okay, so if we continue to track this particular storm as it moves up to the northeast, now this is moving pretty quickly, so this is going to be moving into parts of Tulsa too as we head through 8:30 and then even all the way up to 9 o'clock. So moving into Kiefer, Sapulpa, and Glenpool over the next few minutes. Bowden 8:41, Jinx 8:43, ORU 8:46, Holland Hall there on 81st between Yale and Sheridan. At about 8:48, Woodland Hills Mall, Union High School area at 8:51. Again, this one is not severe, but it's continuing to intensify slowly. Wouldn't be surprised if a severe thunderstorm warning gets required for that. Here's a look at the tornado watch that's in effect for nearly all of Green Country right now and southeast Kansas. Chautauqua County, the only county in our viewing area that is not under the gun with the tornado watch. Now, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning now that gets into northern parts of the city of Tulsa. We'll take a better look at that line of thunderstorms as it moves toward the east right now. And we could see some hail with this one, too. It's not moving as fast as those showers and thunderstorms ahead of the system, but you can see Ramona at about 8:39. Let me do the track along the entire leading edge in this severe thunderstorm warning, kind of all the way down to Keystone Lake right now. We'll take this moving east at about 30 miles per hour. It's a little bit slower than what's moving across Tulsa right now. Mule Barn, that's a new one for me, 8:34. Skytook also at about 8:34. Jubies and Vera by 8:40 as we watch that line of thunderstorms move east. Right now, it looks like this is going to be a more significant wind and possibly some hail threat, too. I'm going to clear that off, and we're going to zoom all the way in right now into that warning and into the metro area because we continue to see some really heavy rain now. It looks like that's Highway 20, so this is going to be at about, we'll say, 106th to 116th Street North, all the way north into Washington, Nowata, Rogers County, and then this line heads to the southwest all the way down toward Cleveland. As we check on our rotating part of the thunderstorm right now, this is where we're looking close to Manford. Let me look at velocities again. So far, we have not seen super strong indications, certainly not as strong as that rotation that we had a few minutes ago, at least the one that prompted that tornado warning for northwestern parts of Creek County. But we're also watching this very closely. Remember, the atmosphere is still very unstable, and we're still prone to these rotating thunderstorms, especially along the leading edge of that big cluster of rain and storms moving our way. Let me zoom all the way back out for you in the metro area. And again, if we've got any rotation at all, it's just southwest of Manford. It is much, much weaker right now. And let's continue our Fox 23 team coverage and Fox 23 certified meteorologist Brad Carl with a look also at some of these rain totals. And Brad, this is going to end up being a significant flood event for many people. We already have a lot of reports. Yeah, this certainly has been something we've been talking about for you the last little while, just in terms of how much of a pronounced threat the flooding would be, in addition to that tornado threat that we were talking about earlier on in the day. As far as just how much is stacked up and where exactly that's been, the biggest impact with all this has really been northwest of Tulsa, in areas around Pawnee. Latest reports, and I updated these in the last about 10 minutes or so, Pawnee close to around 5 inches of rain. If you've been looking on Twitter and Facebook, Tiffany Alaniz has been posting some of the pictures and video out of there of some of the high water and people trying to drive through some of that. Not wisely, mind you, over in the town of Pawnee. Other areas we've been seeing some higher rainfall amounts around Copan, 4 acre, a little over 3 inches or so, and then lesser amounts a little farther off to the east and also to the south, close to around 1.5 inches in Nowata and Skiatook. And so far, at least at Tulsa International Airport, hardly anything at all. And pretty much that's what's been going on across the area. If you take a look at some of the rainfall rates and just in terms of how much is stacked up across most of green country, the real concentration has been north of Tulsa and also northwest of Tulsa, not so much farther off to the south, where many areas have maybe a couple drops in the rainfall bucket, and that's just about it. The concern will be overnight with storms continuing to train over certain spots, particularly north and northwest of Tulsa. That will give us more of that flash flooding threat, which, as we've been telling you about, we upgraded earlier on today. We're going to put up into the major category just because of how much potential there is for some of that heavier rain to stack on up and cause flash flooding issues. We continue to get more reports, including areas out of around Independence, Kansas, where they've had to deal with some water rescues up there just because of how heavy that rainfall has been at times for them. Keep that in mind, too, with going into tomorrow. It's going to be a very windy Tuesday for us. I was expecting gusts upwards of around 30 to 40 miles an hour. So combining that wind with all the super saturated soils we have, at least in spots, that could cause additional trees to topple on over or give us additional threats going on into our Tuesday. Even after all these storms have moved on out, Tuesday overall will be a very windy day for us. Now, we continue to follow this tornado warning over in Creek and Pawnee counties. And James, you continue to look at this line and what we could expect and when we can expect to see more storms on into the metro, too. Yeah, still looking at that arrival time after 9 o'clock in the city of Tulsa. We still officially have that tornado warning ongoing for a while longer, for at least officially until 8:45. But as we look back into the city of Tulsa right now, we still have this developing thunderstorm south of Tulsa that's going to ride up over the city. Could have a little bit of small hail with it as it moves up our way. Still, so far, not severe. Now, we have another factor working, too. The same front that has helped prompt some of these little spin-ups along the leading edge of this big thunderstorm complex to the northwest of Tulsa. That's actually getting pushed to the south slowly by the rain-cooled air from this big thunderstorm complex, and if that sets up in the city of Tulsa and this thunderstorm complex moves over it, we will likely see some very heavy flooding rain start up in the Tulsa area too, and this could be several inches of rain coming as we finish out your night tonight, your Monday night. We could be looking at 3+ inches of rain, maybe even more in spots. We'll continue to look at some of our computer forecast guidance to fine-tune that. But for now, we will shift into a flood threat. And as this activity moves into the metro, it won't take long for an official flash flood warning to be issued. Now, as that happens, it's probably going to cause street flooding first, and then we'll have to be watching some of the mainline creeks too. You just saw one severe thunderstorm warning drop off the screen, but our only active severe thunderstorm warning is this one from Hominy, Cleveland, back over to Skytook, Sperry, Owasso, and Collinsville. And as that line of thunderstorms continues to move toward the east, we'll continue to be tracking that too. Now, one more look as we take a look at our Sapulpa storm right now. I was going to just look off air just a bit. So far, I'm not seeing any sign that we have significant hail with it right now. I figure there could be a little bit of small hail with it too. Our tornado warning is still in effect, and that's going to go until 8:45 for parts of Creek County, and that's for this rotation that's extremely weak now. It's just nowhere near as strong as it was earlier, and we can show you that too as it gets up close to Manford. But remember, we're still pretty unstable right now, and we could see this thing increase a little bit in velocity, but